Hello folks, welcome back. In this tutorial we're going to be having a look at the wiggle expression. Now wiggle expression is a very popular expression and it's used to animate a layer without the need for adding lots and lots of position keyframes or effects keyframes up and down the timeline. To get started we're going to alt click on the position keyframe here and this dialog box pops up. I'm going to type in wiggle bracket 5 comma 50, close brackets. Now I'm just going to explain to you what these different numbers mean. The 5, which I've just highlighted here, is the amount of wiggles you're going to get per second. So in this case it's going to wiggle 5 times in 1 second. This number here, 50, is the amount by which it's going to wiggle. In this case 50 or 50 pixels. Let's click off that and let's give it a quick RAM preview. Nice and gentle, fairly subtle wiggle movement. We can change it of course if we wish. I'm going to click on here and I'm going to put the wiggle to 10 wiggles per second, and the amount I'm going to crank up to 200. Oh, 2000, probably a bit too much. So 10 wiggles per second and an amplitude of an amount of 200. Let's preview that and see what we've got. Yeah, that's a bit more dramatic. Probably more than I really need, to be honest. So I'm going to put it back to 5. So that's 5 wiggles per second. And the amount it's going to wiggle, I'm going to put to 100. And then click off and preview the work. There you go, nice gentle wiggle. Now one of the things you've noticed folks is that when you put a wiggle on here, or rather a wiggle expression, it's constant, it's working its way through the timeline without any method of adjusting it. We can't change it, it's stuck on there all the way through, in my case, the 10-second period. So we're going to add a slider control so we can adjust it when and where we want it to be adjusted. Now to do that we're going to go to Layer and New, and you can either click on a null object or an adjustment layer. It doesn't really matter which one. I'm going to go for adjustment layer. Make sure you've selected the adjustment layer and then go to Effect, Expression Controls, Slider Control. I'm going to open that slider in the timeline here just so as we can get a better look at it. Your next step is to highlight this number here, the amplitude. In my case it's 100, so I'm going to highlight that number, which is 100. I'm then going to grab the pick whip from the expression and attach it like so to the slider here. When I click off now, the slider here is now going to be controlling the expression. Now because the slider, if you look on it, is currently set on 0, as you can see here, there's no more wiggle. The slider is now in control of the wiggle, and at the moment it's not doing anything. So we're going to start by going to 0 on the timeline, and I'm going to set a keyframe for slider at 0. I'm going to move along to 2 seconds, and I'm going to click here just to repeat that keyframe. So we've got a keyframe for 0, another keyframe for 0. And I'm going to go forward to say 5 seconds, and I'm going to increase the slider up to, I don't know, say 200 or thereabouts. Doesn't have to be too accurate. That'll do. And as you can see, there's no wiggle at the beginning, from 0 on the slider to 0. But then as it works its way towards this keyframe I've left at number 5, it's going up to a wiggle of 200. I'm then going to move forward to about 8 seconds and put the slider back to 0, and that will now stop the wiggle expression. So it's now the slider here that I've attached to the adjustment layer that's now controlling the expression. So from 0 up to about 200 on the slider, and then back down to 0 again. Let's just preview that and see what it looks like. So no wiggle, wiggle begins, and then gradually fades away at the 8-second point. Okay folks, so use slider controls to actually dictate when and where you want the expression to occur. Okay folks, hope you found that useful. See you in the next tutorial.